Now, calling out these race rioters, and I can understand perhaps the fear of doing so, is becoming very dangerous for journalists, Gerard, particularly in America. You've seen the editor of the Philadelphia Inquirer. He was just fired last week for running this headline on a story opposing the arson, Buildings Matter Too, that was seen to be too insensitive. An NBA announcer was also fired for tweeting in response to a request for his opinion on the Black Lives Matter riots, that all lives matter, every single one, fired. And the New York Times fired its opinion editor for running a piece by a Republican senator in the name of debate, arguing that troops should be sent in to stop the rioting if police couldn't handle it. Gerard, I find that all this censorship very frightening. Not only journalists being fired, but other journalists, their colleagues, demanding it.
Well, I think it is very concerning. In times gone by, authoritarian regimes or authoritarian governments or governments verging on the authoritarian, they imposed the restrictions, they imposed the censorship. They said what could or couldn't be said. Nowadays, it's the other way around. You've got demands from the bottom up saying that people should be silenced. Now, this was happening originally in relation to conservatives, which you would expect. But anyone who understands history knows that the left always turns on itself. So now you've got opposition to left liberal in the North American sense of the term, newspapers like the New York Times. They're now being opposed because the editorial page, the person in charge of the editorial page decided to publish an article by a Republican senator which was broadly supportive of the Trump administration's response to the riots and the looting. Now, normally you would think that would be perfectly acceptable, and the next day you could put in an article by someone else who took a different position. But that wasn't good enough for the left. You had to sack the editorial page editor. So in the end, there'll be no debate in the New York Times whatsoever. It'll be a bit like the ABC. There'll be no real debate, and that's a concern here. The same in the Philadelphia Inquirer. And in other places, you've got this demand from the bottom, mainly from left-wing activists, to silence not only conservatives but also mainstream Democrats and mainstream liberals in the American sense of the term. This is very concerning.
Oh, it is. But what the funny thing, or the strange thing is, I saw a poll saying this stance, sending the troops, had 52% support from the American voter. But if you express it on the opinion pages as an opinion, in the interest of debate in the New York Times, you get sacked. Now, just very quickly, a politician here of the has been also sacked for saying an important moral truth that all lives matters. Labor's Helen Polley, she reposted a graphic saying all lives matter and agreed that everyone did. And when she was attacked, she first defended herself, telling critics, you know, believing in equality no matter what your skin colour is unacceptable to you. But then other Labor figures piled into her and she caved and said, I apologise for carelessly reposting a post which was insensitive to Black Lives Matter. Now, this is McCarthyist, Gerard. I've only got 10, 15 seconds, but what do you think? This is like a self-criticism session of the Maoists.
Well, she's a mainstream social democratic politician, and her views are very reasonable. But again, she was attacked by former colleagues who told her that she should be educated, which in a sense means re-educated, which is the old communist term.